Welcome to the third video of Unit 8. In this unit, we are going to cover the African civilizations and empires that developed, including their geography, their religion, and their political and social structures. We are going to talk about the Kingdom of Axum, located here, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, three different kingdoms located over here in Western Africa, and Zimbabwe, down here in Southeastern Africa. First, we're going to talk about geography. The climate of Africa is very diverse, meaning very different depending on what part of Africa you're looking at. Dry desert environment in the north, tropical rainforest in the central part, and a variety of climates in the south. A desert is a region or landscape that receives less than 10 inches of rain per year. So if we took a look here at this map, this shows us the different climates. So you see we have everything from desert to rainforest all within one continent. The closer to the equator, you see the rainforest, and then northern Africa, and even in southern Africa, you see a lot of desert. The desert that is in the northern part of Africa is known as the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert was once fertile and green. It is about 3,000 miles long and about 1,200 miles wide, and it is almost as large as the United States. So just the desert in northern Africa is almost as large as the entire United States. The Berbers were a nomadic Muslim tribe that used camels to form caravans across the desert. A caravan is a group of people traveling together for protection. So they would use camels, and they would often ride the camels. The camels would carry the goods that they were using to travel with and that they were going to use for their survival. And again, as I said in the last video, or I believe the first video of this unit, camels are especially good for traveling across deserts because they hold a lot of water for long periods of time. So this is just a funny comic. Camels could travel 60 miles a day and go 10 days without water. This is very important when you can only carry so much water with you and you need it for yourself. Camels could go quite a while without having water. The Sahel, or African savanna, is going to be this next section here. It is a region on the southern border of the Sahara Desert. It means shore of the desert because it is right on the edge. It is also called savanna grasslands. It has little rainfall and a long dry season, which makes sense because it is so close to the desert, which has very little water. The Sahel is inhabited by pastoralists, farmers who move their herds of animals in search of food and water. Equatorial or Central Africa is the area around the equator. There are large areas of tropical rainforest near the equator. It rains almost all year long in this area. So you have very thick vegetation in those areas. Equatorial Central Africa includes the Congo, Zambezi, and Niger rivers. Now, these three rivers are three of the most important rivers in Africa. They're going to bring water to different regions, which leads to the creation of areas that can be easily farmed. Agriculture is easier right along rivers. In southern Africa, the southern part has a variety of climates. These are savanna, desert, Mediterranean, marine, and subtropical climates, similar to what you would find in California and Oregon in the United States. This here shows vegetation. So the green areas are places that you would be able to have some kind of vegetation. The brown areas are areas where we have desert. So you see mostly the areas of vegetation surround where the rivers are located. Now we'll talk about some of the specific kingdoms, and we're going to start with Axum, which is located in northeastern Africa, right on the Red Sea. So this area right here is Axum. This is the Red Sea. This is the Arabian Peninsula. Mecca is right here where Islam began. Egypt is up here, and this is the Mediterranean Sea. The Axum Empire was located in the highlands of modern Ethiopia along the Red Sea. They controlled all trade from the southern Nile and Red Sea into Central Africa. The Axum Empire traced its ancestors back to King Solomon of Israel. Its traditional religion was a combination of monotheism and animism. And we'll see animism exists quite a bit in Africa. Some areas are going to convert to some of the other religions we've talked about. Some of the areas will not. Animism is the belief that spirits are present in animals, plants, and other natural objects. In terms of trade, Axum exported products like salt, gold, gems, ivory, and even tortoise shells. Their imports included cloth, iron, glass, wine, and copper. Christian missionaries spread the religion of Christianity into Ethiopia along trade routes. Because of trade, Axum was a very cosmopolitan empire, meaning including elements from many parts of the world. So it was a place that ideas from all over the world, the known world at the time, came together in one place. Axum's architecture was advanced compared to many African kingdoms. What you see in this image here is a stele, a stone pillar that shows accomplishments of kings. So one of these would be created for every king, and on it would be etched in the accomplishments of that king. Axum's power declined when Islam spread through northern Africa in the 700s. Axum largely followed Christianity, so there was a clash when Islam began to spread in northern Africa. Next, we'll cover Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe can be found in southeastern Africa. Zimbabwe is an empire located in Southeast Africa, which began around 1000 AD. Great Zimbabwe is the central city or capital city of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was strategically located near the Zambezi River, the Indian Ocean, and good farming and grazing land. This is good for farming. It will also be good for trading goods. They also controlled the gold and ivory trade to the interior of Africa. Because they are so close to the ocean and a river that connects, they're going to be the main stop for a lot of goods from other parts of Africa, northern Africa, let's say into the central areas of Africa that don't have as easy access to the sea trade routes. The capital city, called Great Zimbabwe, covered more than 60 acres and had more than 10,000 people living in it. Once thought to be a city of the biblical Queen Sheba, Great Zimbabwe stands as the most important archaeological site yet found in the sub-Saharan Africa. Evidence suggests the Shona, ancestors of the modern Bantu, built it beginning around AD 1250, and that it served as a religious center. The empire declined around 1450 AD or CE because of overfarming, lumbering, and grazing. So the loss of a lot of farmland because it was not properly maintained. Ghana is the next kingdom we will take a look at. These next three are all going to be located in similar areas in northwestern Africa. The Empire of Ghana was located between the Niger River and the Senegal River in the Sahel. This area in modern day is Mauritania and Mali. So it's the area that is in green on the map there. Ghana's empire grew as they traded gold, which they had quite a lot of, for salt, which they needed to preserve their food. So Ghana traded the gold that they had access to the salt, for the salt, which was found largely in the eastern parts of northern Africa. To keep the value of gold high, the king didn't allow common people to own or trade gold nuggets, only gold dust. The king had officials to tax trade and make sure that trade was honest. The king used his wealth to create a large army, which conquered or controlled nearby tribes. Islamic missionaries traveled with the caravans and converted many of the nobles and kings of Ghana around the year 1000 AD, or CE. Many of the common people did not convert to Islam and continued to practice animism. We also see the Mali Empire in a very similar area here. So you see Mali is the area that is larger. It is covered in the black outline there. Ghana, which we just covered, is in the red circle, which is a smaller area. And Songhai, which is the pinkish color we're going to talk about next. The Kingdom of Mali replaced Ghana as the major power in Western Africa around 1235 AD. So Mali comes to its height after the fall of Ghana. Mali both defeated Ghana in battle and shifted the gold salt trade away from them, which caused their economy to collapse. So they defeated them in terms of military as well as in terms of economic prosperity. The king, Mansa Musa, traveled to Mecca in 1324, and when he returned to Mali, he ordered the cities of Gao and Timbuktu built on the Muslim model. Timbuktu and Gao became centers of trade and the location of major universities. We'll talk more about Mansa Musa and his excessive richness, his excessive wealth in class. The empire began to decline around 1400 AD after the death of Mansa Musa because of weak leadership and the gold trade shifting to the east. Which then takes us to the Songhai Empire. The final strong empire in Western Africa was the Songhai Empire. Shown here, you see it largely follows the Niger River. Like the Ghana and Mali empires, the Songhai controlled the trans-Saharan trade of salt and gold. Again, gold that is mined easily in northwestern Africa, and salt, which is found easily in northeastern Africa, traded across the Sahara Desert. The Songhai was a well-organized empire, which continued the educational traditions that the Mali Empire began in Timbuktu. The Songhai lacked modern weapons and were eventually conquered in 1591 AD by invaders from Morocco in the northern coast of Africa. The Moroccans had guns, while the Songhai did not. So they didn't have great defense against the Moroccans. Once the Songhai were defeated, no major African empire controlled the area again. The division among the African people made it easy for the Europeans to take control in the 1500s. And you will talk about that in your World History 2 course next year. So this is the end of the kingdoms and the geography of Africa, the end of the third video of Unit 8.